Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a pretty big Apple fanboy, and last week Apple came out with their brand new iPhone 10 or iPhone X or whatever you're gonna call it. And for the first time, instead of making me want to immediately run out and upgrade my phone, it made me consider changing over to Android. When I was 17 years old and I was just about to head off for college and audio recording, I bought my first MacBook Pro, 15-inch 2005 model, just the best and newest and fastest and everything, all decked out. And that's kind of what you did if you were getting into a creative field like I was. If you were doing video work or audio work or photography or those kinds of things, that's what Apples were kind of known for back in the day. The software worked really well on them and you didn't really have to worry about viruses or anything like that. So Macs were kind of the thing for creative individuals at that point. So I was buying my first one and getting ready to head off to college. I really got sucked into the whole Apple ecosystem at that point. The operating system on that computer was just so fresh and new for me, and it just made sense. It just clicked for me. And that was really a refreshing experience because computers can be so frustrating at times. We love them, but we also love to hate them because they kind of do what we want to do, but they don't quite take it all the way. In this case, it was just everything I was looking for. It was super perfect, and I loved the way that it ran. Since that first MacBook Pro, I got another MacBook Pro, an iMac, I have my Mac Pro here at work, and I have a Mac Mini now at home, and I'm just kind of doing my research to buy a new MacBook Pro because I need to be mobile again. And also, I've convinced my wife to buy a MacBook Pro, pretty much everybody in my entire family to switch over to Apple products, and so that makes me tech support for the whole family. A few years after I got my first MacBook, the iPhone happened. My first iPhone was the 3G, which is this little guy. Surprisingly, I still have it. Still got its little R2-D2 case on it. Look at that. Look at how tiny it is. It's just a baby. And then I'm pretty sure I had the 4S, which died in a very unfortunate, smashy kind of way. My next one was the iPhone 6. Now I currently have this guy, the iPhone 7. And of course, now that they've released the brand new iPhone 8 and the brander newer iPhone 10, Apple, we really need to talk about what happened about iPhone 9. It's time for me to long for the newest and latest and greatest iPhone that there is out there, except not really. It seems like every time that there's a new batch of smartphones on the market, iPhone kind of gets less and less impressive, to the point where some of the newest features on the new iPhone that just came out are kind of old news comparatively to these other phones that are already out there. Wireless charging? Been there. OLED display? Seen that. Smaller bezels? Done it. No headphone jack? Okay, Apple, I think maybe you guys were the first ones to do that back on the 7. The iPhone just really isn't the most exciting and innovative phone anymore. They're kind of playing catch up half the time. And since it's not the most exciting, I have to start to think, is it time that I start to consider other phones? Is it time for me to leave the Apple ecosystem for an Android phone? I really have no intention of leaving the Apple ecosystem for a computer, but on the phone, it might just make sense. Now this is where Apple kind of has the world enslaved, like we're a robot zombie race and they just get to tell us what to do. There's something called the sunk cost fallacy. And the long and short of it is, if you invest enough in anything, in a product or a company, or in this case, an entire virtual ecosystem, if you invest enough of yourself or your money or anything into it, you will continue down that path, whether it's the right path for you or not. So for example, if you, let's say, have invested in a business, you own this business and things aren't going well, and you go see a professional about it and they tell you, you know what, the best bet right now is to fold your cards and try something new. Because you've already invested so much time, energy, money into that company, you might actually think that the right call is to continue with it, even though you've been told and the numbers are telling you and all the facts are pointing towards the fact that you should hang it up. You might continue down that because of this sunk cost fallacy. policy. And what kind of happens is it becomes harder to abandon that investment that you've made, because whatever type of investment you made turns into an emotional investment. Now, this is what I think a lot of people, myself included, feel towards Apple products. We've already invested so much in this ecosystem that we can't really move away from it. So here are some of the things that are going through my brain right now. But I'm so used to the Apple operating system. But I have so many apps that I bought on the App Store. But my computers sync up so nicely with my phone. I sound really whiny in my brain, apparently. But when I took a closer look at it, it really doesn't seem like it would be that big of an issue to make the switch. I use very few stock Apple apps. Most of my organizational stuff is all Google products. I use Google Calendar, Gmail, Google Keep for my notes, Google Docs, Google Sheets. I don't use iCloud anymore. I moved over to Google Drive. My audio editing is on Pro Tools, not on Apple's Logic. All my video editing is done in Adobe Premiere, not on Final Cut Pro. So obviously for the apps part of it, it shouldn't really be a big deal. Now, as far as my phone and my computers working well together, I did a little bit of research and it seems like there are some decent workarounds that people have figured out ways to make Android phones work with Apple computers, and it's really not that big of an issue. The only thing that really doesn't seem to have a good solution for it yet is iMessage on the iPhone. But other than that, it doesn't really seem like it would be that hard of a thing to do. So really, when I think logically about it, the main issue doesn't necessarily seem to be that it's going to be any kind of a huge inconvenience on my life or that I'm going to have any problem switching over. The main thing is just that I'm scared. It's literally fear of the unknown. I'm super used to the iPhone operating system. I'm super used to how my phone and my computers connect to each other and have a smooth, consistent way of working. I'm super used to all the iPhone apps that I have in there and the way that they run on that specific device. And so it just makes me scared to have to try and learn things over again or to put any kind of a kink in my day-to-day operations. I know that if I buy the new iPhone, it's still got the same software on it. It's just got some new features. But there are so many cool options out there as far as Android phones. We've got the Samsung S8 or the Note 8. Google Pixel 2 just came out. Just this morning I saw something called the ZTE Axon M, and it's actually a phone with like 2 screens. So they go back to back and you can flip it out and have one gigantic screen, or you can have mirrored screens, or you can have dual screens, so you can actually have like 2 phones right next to each other essentially. You can be doing 2 things at once. Like some crazy cool innovation happening in the Android world that, because the iPhone can only be 1 phone at a time, or in this case 2 I guess, it's really limited in that way. The other thing is that I don't just upgrade whenever I want. Whenever I want to get the new phone, or if something new comes out, I don't just hop out and buy it. I mean, phones are expensive and it's a very personal thing. So you have to really take your time and make sure it's going to be the right one for you and make sure that you can afford it at the time. So typically I'll go a couple of years, 2 or 3 years without switching phones. So when I do switch phones, it's kind of a big deal. Even if it's just an iPhone upgrade, it's kind of a big deal because there's always new features with it. So now I'm doing my research, and when I do decide to upgrade, do I get something completely new, or do I stick with what I know? Do I go over to the Android world, or do I stay in the Apple ecosystem and just get a couple of extra new features? For now, I'm going to stick with my soon-to-be obsolete iPhone 7, and I'll just keep an eye out in the Android world for all the crazy innovations that they're going to have. I would love to know what you guys think I should do though, so if you've got an opinion on this, make sure to leave it in the comment section below. If you've got experiences switching from iPhone to Android or vice versa, make sure to let me know what you think. If you have a recommendation on a phone that you think would be perfect for me, please let me know. Down in the comments, let's start a conversation about it. Thank you so much for watching, letting me get this off my chest to you. It's nice to have someone to talk to. If you like this video, give it the thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the little bell notification button so you know when I post new videos, and I'll see you next time.